Hello, welcome. My name is Karina, if you don't know me already. I am a spiritual guide, a non-dual pointer, and a mentor. I'm going to tell you a little story about this avatar, which is called Karina. But before I tell you the story, I want you to remember that it's just a story. I'm only telling it to give context, background. For some people need that kind of information. But ultimately, we want to move away from our stories because they are just a story. And the more that we anchor into these stories, the more that we engage and accept invitations into the personal mode of experience. And we want to remember that we are the infinite effortless being, the impersonal being. So I have 35 years in the realm of spiritual, you can call it seeking. Technically, it is seeking, although it wasn't not seeking in the sense of non-duality. I had no idea what non-duality was until right before self-realization happened. So 35 years in the realm of spirituality with magic, crystals, chakras, spells, etc., etc. And 20 years in deep studying and practicing in an attempt to perfect the art of manifestation and seeking the true nature of reality. Again, not necessarily seeking in the non-dual aspect, although that's ultimately what we're all seeking. 5 years, I've been a coach, mentor, and teacher as my profession. And 4 years ago in 2021, I saw our true nature, self-realization happened here, or appeared to happen here. So I did a video. I'm new to YouTube, so this is all going to be a little rough. I'm trying different things out. The speaking is a little bit rough. Putting the what cannot be put into words is a little bit rough. But as we practice and allow it to come through, um, it will all happen perfectly, right? So I did a video where I shared about spiritual warfare. Is spiritual warfare real, right? And I broke it down to why there's actually no such thing as spiritual warfare. You can go back and watch that video if you want. However, I received a question, and instead of just typing out an answer, I wanted to make another video. So let me go to the video, pull up the question. Out in those communities. And here we go. This person said, "Oh, I found your video helpful. Thank you for making it. I have a question on the mind and the emotions. I have a question on the mind and the emotions are still attached to you without the physical body. Can you explain, please, what you meant?" So yes, absolutely, I can answer that question. Um, Here's the problem that we run into when we start talking about this kind of stuff, because ultimately, when you, the truth exists in silence, in between the words, in between the sounds, in between all of the quote unquote experiences. When we start adding words, words are inherently dualistic. So once we start adding words, we are entering into trying to explain something that is non-dualistic, trying to explain something that is non-conceptual, trying to explain something um, that is not explainable, and not being able to grasp by with the mind through words that are dualistic, conceptual, and are created through the mind. So once the more we speak about something in words, in a way, it's the further we get away from truth. So that's why so many teachers and gurus and the monks teach in silence. Just will sit there and be as the effortless, impersonal being without engaging and interacting in the dualistic mode of experience. So, but because there has been such an extensive background with spirituality and spiritual concepts, and because I work professionally in the field where I'm dealing with a lot of people who have spiritual beliefs, spiritual experience, and spiritual stories about the world and universe and themselves, I like to try to break it down and frame it in ways that can make sense of the human experience, but always bringing it back to non-duality. So a lot of the things I talk about um, probably wouldn't be approved of by some other non-duality teachers, by what I call the non-duality police, which is hilarious. Um, but there's a reason for both. There's a reason for people who teach non-duality in a very pure sense, pointing you back to your true nature and wholeness and perfection and repeating that, and then going further into the nothingness, because ultimately our true nature is is not the experiences. So what I mean by that is that you hear a lot of people talk about, being the infinite being or being the effortless being and being in that place of love and bliss and peace, which I do talk about a lot as well. But the true nature, the infinite being, is non-experiential and non-conceptual and precedes. I say precedes, but it all happens simultaneously. There's no like distance in time. There's no time or space, distance in time or space between it. But you can look at it as precedes the experiences, including the experience and feeling of bliss, love, peace. Um, So it's all happen. You can also look at it as it's happening within instead of like proceeding, because proceeding kind of makes you think that there's this gap of time and space, and there's not any gap of time and space. Okay, we are going to use this calendar whiteboard. Imagine that this calendar whiteboard thing doesn't have any lines on it, and imagine that it doesn't have a border. It's infinite, right? So there are, and again, this is just a story. So, um, in order to explain this with words, we have and concepts, we have to create some sort of frame. We don't have to. You can sit in silence, but it helps for some people to create some sort of frame or story in which this can fit into to help understand it. So, you know, the teachings of like of Indian tradition or the teaching of like Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit, those originally were frameworks in which to put this in. Um, there's all kinds of different frameworks that are used in different cultures and different religions, but they're all pointing to the same thing. Most all are pointing to the same thing ultimately. So this, I'm going to use the concept of the koshas, which comes from Indian tradition and yogic tradition. So the idea of the koshas is that there are five bodies. So imagine this board is an infinite board, right? And there's nothing on it. It's blank. I can't find a blank whiteboard. I have one somewhere, but I don't know where it is. And I'm holding it like this so that way it shows up with the green screen here. So the the first sheath, and some people say that talk about this backwards. Okay, I'm going to draw the circle and then it'll show up again. There you go. Boop. Okay. That's not in the screen. Let's do it like this. Boop. There you go. The first sheath, don't pay attention to this part, is imagine it's a circle, is the body of bliss. Some people talk about these going the other way. They start with the body and then they move outwards, but really it's going inward in the sense that you are this, and then it becomes more concentrated and dense the more you go into these different modes of experiences, okay? So that's the body of bliss. Then you have, actually, you know what? Let me just draw it. Okay. We're doing this spontaneously, so the body of bliss. Oh, my marker's drawing out too. We have the body of wisdom, the body of The mental body, the emotional body, and the physical. Okay. Hold back under my chin. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you have the body of bliss here, the body of wisdom, the mental body, the emotional body, and then the physical. So these are, you can look at these as modes of experience. And ultimately, what we are is the infinite, non-conceptual, non-experiential being. That is what we are. That's what we remain as. We don't go into incarnate into the physical body. We remain as this. And these are kind of like not shields, like filters, or different modes that we can go into while always remaining as the infinite being. So the first one is bliss. And these bliss, the body of bliss and the body of wisdom, are non-dualistic. So let me just, oop, I'm making a separate mark around this other circle here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so these two are non-dualistic, and then when you enter into the mental body, emotional body, and physical body, you start going into the dualistic experience. So we have the body of bliss, and again, it goes inward, but remember, we are not our body. We are this infiniteness. So this is what we are, and then these different modes of experience. It doesn't go outward from us. We are this, and it goes inward into these different modes of experience. I hope that makes sense. So this is the body of bliss. This is what people are talking about when they say it's our very true nature is love, peace, joy. It's this experience. It's the first like layer of experience, right? And then you have the body of wisdom. This is also a non-dualistic mode of experience. This is, the universal mind, the like you can kind of talk about it like a collective consciousness, although it depends how one is using that word. Christ consciousness. This is why Christ consciousness is not ultimate truth. It is still a story because it's one of these layers of experience, and every layer of experience is a layer of illusion. It's a veil of illusion. So this is like the Christ consciousness. This is the bridge. This is when people have awoken to their true nature and they're having the human experience. They are resting in here. This is what we talk about when we're talking about the effortless being. So you're effortlessly resting in the non-dual state, knowing your true nature, experiencing waves of bliss and joy and peace, still observing seemingly this dream state, called the dream state, still observing a dream state, but choosing when to engage with it and when not to engage with it, and not allowing it, not identifying with it, because they know their true nature as the infinite being. We know our true nature as the infinite being. And so you no longer believe this story, and you no longer engage with this story. So the effortless being is that bridge. You can look at it like a bridge. And then you move into the first dualistic body, and that is the mental body, which is also the astral body. And then you have your energetic slash emotional body, and then you have your physical body. So as soon as we bring experience, even the experience of peace, bliss, and joy, we are entering into a layer of illusion or part of the dream state. Okay, so that's a frame that we can look at. The reason that's important is because this person asked about is the emotional and mental body not being attached to the body. The first thing we have to understand is that none of it's real. It's all an illusion arising. It's all an illusion arising upon the screen of awareness. It's all noise arising upon the screen of awareness. It's all like a movie on a movie screen arising on the screen of awareness. So none of it's real. It's all just a story. That being said, from direct experience here and to try to make sense of what happens in the human experience from the different stories of like near death experiences and like remembering times in between lives and having memories of past lives. I would say about like 6 or 7 apparent past lives I've had, maybe more, I think, at this point. I remember some in between lives when you're in between transitioning from one life to another. I have memories of that, and other people do as well, or like communicating like with the spirit realm. It's all just a story. It's all just arising within consciousness. So, but when we're trying to make sense of it or trying to explain it, um, we're getting further away from the truth, but we can still do that. So what I said in the last video is that it appears a lot is that we're taught in the human experience that that the mental body, the mind and the emotions are contained within the body or they are connected to the body. But that's from personal experience and from the experience of others, the stories of others, it appears evident that that is not true. Um, Actually, even according to the koshas, the body arises as a manifestation within the body. So the mental body the emotional body arises within the mental body, and the physical body is a creation illusion that arises within the emotional energetic body, which all arises upon the screen of infinite awareness, infinite consciousness, the infinite being. So, what I was saying in that video was that it appears that there can be experiences where where you're still having the mode of experience of the mental body and the emotional body, but no longer having the experience of the physical body. And because there's no time or space, there's really no linear events. It appears the way that the human experience and the spiritual experience appears is that there is some sort of form of linear time and linear space, but we know that there's no linear time and no linear space. There's only an ever unfolding present now. However, in order to explain the memories and the experiences that can arise of other lives that don't seem to be this present life, or the out of body experiences are interacting with spirits or um, yeah, spirits or even like some entities, although that's a whole nother conversation. I think I went into that in the last video, but I'm not sure. I can do another video on like entities that can be appear or appear to be experienced. But in order to try to make sense of it, which we don't have to do because again, it's just a story. It's just a story. Um, From my experience and from how it appears that you can still be identified, meaning like still believe yourself to be an individual, separate, limited being, even when the physical body is not manifest, even when the physical body is not present. And that can appear as an experience of moving through different lives. Now, different teachers have different explanations of this. They just completely dismiss past lives, which I understand why, because there is no past and because ultimately we are all this infinite being. That being said, it appears as if there can be when identifying as the ego, when identifying as with the emotions and the thoughts and the physical body, it does appear to be that there can be an appearance, and I want to stress that I keep saying appear for a reason, an appearance because it's not truth. There can be an appearance of a continuation of an individual soul, um, an apparent individual soul, but it's really just data and beliefs. And it's really just programs, data, beliefs, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Identity, ego. What's arising now is this analogy of a dream. I don't know if many people have experienced this, but if you've ever experienced a dream where you've had the dream, you've woken up from the dream, and then you go to sleep a different night and continue the same dream, or maybe even that same night, and you're continuing the same dream. So you woke up and you realize it was a dream, but then you can go back into the dream. And you remember, I was in this place, like in the dream, you remember continuing, you remember the past of the dream. That's happened for me. I know it hasn't happened for everyone, but it's kind of similar to that. Again, it's not a perfect analogy. And it's just a way to explain some of the spiritual phenomena and some of the spiritual experiences that so many people talk about. But it's all just a story. It's just what's happening is that, or what's appearing to happen is that there is just an ever-present now. You are the infinite being in an ever-present now, and things are just continuously arising, like a continuous, like Big Bang, a continuous burst of creation, just arising, 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 crumbling, arising. And the mind registers it as a movement through time and space, but there's no actual movement through time and space. So that answers that question, I hope. It wasn't, I mean, they just wanted more clarity. So yeah. So the point is that the mind and emotions don't exist inside a body. There's no body, there's no mind, there's no emotions. Let's start with that. But the apparent mind and emotions don't exist within the body like we're taught. They're not a function of the body like we're taught. It's actually quite the opposite. It's actually that the mental body manifests within or upon the effortless being or the body of wisdom, and then the emotional, energetic body manifests within and upon that, and then the physical body manifests within or upon that. And again, that's just a story, that's just a framework, that's just a way to bring some sort of explanation to it. Is not ultimate truth. Ultimate truth is the nothingness. There is no body here. There is no Karina here. There, it's all just mirages arising upon the screen of the infinite being, of infinite awareness, of infinite consciousness. But there does appear to be a human experience that arises, that continues to arise. And so it can help to have these kind of frameworks or explanations for the human experience. And for those like myself who have been in the spiritual world for a long time before self-realization, um, those questions do arise. Well, how come, this happened how come like this happened in astral? They want to, some explanation for the astral, some explanation for past life, some explanation for the memories of even creating like soul contracts and stuff like that. And what it appears to be, and this kind of ties in with some ancient Indian traditions about like the cycle of reincarnation, is that it appears to be that we can still identify as the individual, falsely identify as the individual, even when the body isn't present. Now, again, there's some teachers who say that once the body is no longer manifest, everyone, that's it. You go back to just pure being. Um, I don't have the ultimate answer, but again, I can tell you the direct experience that has happened here. What I do know to be true, which is our true nature as infinite consciousness, that I do know to be true, which is that this is all just a story, that this is an illusion. There's no real time. There is no space. There is no time. Um, and then I can use things that I have both heard from my clients' experiences or my students' experiences, and other people have had self-realization experiences, and this and the direct experience that has happened here in the story of Karina, and try to create some sort of understanding of what this human experience and spiritual experience, what might be appearing to happen there. So, yeah, that's it. Let me know if this answered your question, or if it made more questions arise, or if you want any more, or if you have any more questions regarding this self-realization or anything else. Bye.